No props are needed. Just grab a bit of floor and start laying down. Use your hands to ease yourself down onto your mat or the floor. If you would like, you can always slide a head cushion underneath your neck to feel your ribs sink. Just have your feet flat on the floor, knees bent, arms resting wherever. And start to notice your points of contact into the mat. And start to breathe into the places that are not in contact with the mat or the negative spaces. Maybe your low back, maybe one side of your rib cage or your shoulders. And send your expanding inhale into those negative spaces. And just 2 more breaths into the back body. Taking a moment, using the floor as proprioception. And start with a gentle pelvic tilt. Exhale, flatten your back, coming into your imprint. Today, press into your feet and press your feet away from you to help deepen into that imprint. And then slowly rock your pelvis back to neutral. Keep pressing down into your feet and pull your feet towards your seat a bit to help you come into extension. 2 more of those pelvic tilts. Pressing your feet down and away from you slightly. Try and get the back of the legs to warm up and deepen this imprint. And then helping us get a little bit more extension in our low back. Last pelvic tilt here. And let's make sure your feet are in line with your sit bones, so about a fist distance apart and just in front of your knees. And let's come into a hip roll imprint. Pushing your feet away from you and start to peel your hips up off the mat, bone by bone, into that bridge. Pause at the top, lift your hips up higher, but sink your ribs, opening up your sternum. Weight to the inside of your feet, shins reaching forward, big breath into the back and sides of your lungs. And slowly roll back down, bone by bone. Moving through that imprint and releasing the pelvis to neutral. Interlace your fingers and then flip your palms to the ceiling. Shoulders relaxed and lift your hips back up. Moving through that hip roll, trying to get more vertebrae to move each time. At the top of your hip roll, reach your arms to the ceiling. Pull your thumbs apart. Let your elbows straighten. Let your shoulders separate or protract. Big breath into the upper body, and then slowly rolling down as you keep your hands trying to touch the ceiling. Maybe getting a stretch through the forearms, the neck, the shoulder, the upper body. Once you're back to neutral, let your elbows relax and switch your interlacing of your finger to the weird way. Relax those shoulders, imprint, and lift your hips back up, bone by bone. Get to the top of your bridge, then reach your arms to the ceiling. Try to shove your pinky fingers together, but pull your thumbs apart. Take a breath. And slowly inch your way back down. And release the pelvis, release the elbows, maybe spark out your fingers. One more hip roll, we're going to hold at the top. You're welcome to set your hips down sooner. So get your glutes on, but sink the ribs so we're not popping the ribs. And bring your arms up to the ceiling. Palms face each other. Micro bend of your elbows. Let's do some arm circles. Take your arms overhead, out to the side, and exhale, circling around. Feel the movement from the back of your body. Inhale, arms and ribs expand. Exhale, arms and ribs close. Keep sending those shins forward. Pause at the top of your next circle and reverse. Reaching through your elbows, really try and get those shoulder blades to move. My arms are more going along for the ride. Lengthen your back neck, a little drop of the chin towards the chest. Last circle here. Flip your palms to face your knees. Take your arms wider and feel your shoulder blades draw down your back to float your arms overhead. Maybe you hit the ground, maybe not. Staying out of your side neck. Lift your hips up a bit higher. Stretch your fingers away from you like you're doing a good morning stretch. And slowly sink back down, imprinting, hammocking the spine down bone by bone. Once you're back down to the mat, bend your elbows to the ceiling and then control your arms back down by your sides. Couple toe taps. Maybe find the heels of your hands onto your hip bones and your middle fingers towards your pubic bone. You're trying to keep these 3 bones stable. Press into your left foot. Get your left glute on. Exhale, lift that right heel. Feel your left and right hip equally weighted into the mat. And come up to your tippy toe. Use an exhale to float that leg all the way up to tabletop. Pause here and set that foot back down. Toe ball arch heel. Notice where your pelvis went. Find neutral. Press into that right foot and get your right glute on. Lift your left heel. Keep rolling to your tippy toes and then exhale, lifting that left leg up to tabletop. And slowly setting that foot back down. So it's not just lifting your leg, it's lifting your leg with ease in your hip flexors, using your exhale, using your opposite glute and maybe your obliques to stabilize the pelvis. So really using the floor's feedback. Is one side of your hip dropping towards the earth more than the other? Is one side hiking up into your armpit? Can you minimize that with your exhale, with moving slowly? If you bring your arms up to the ceiling, ideally it's no more difficult in that perfect Pilates world. Soft neck. Ribs heavy into the mat. One more time each side. Opposite back leg stabilizes. Exhale when you feel the load. Shift into your low belly. And last one or so. And go ahead and let your arms rest back down. Walk your feet just a bit away from you. Press into that left foot. And let's pick that right leg back up to tabletop. Take your right thigh across your midline and pause. Make sure that your leg didn't kind of turn out in the socket. See if it can stay parallel. See if that right hip can stay down. From here, 3 leg circles. Circling your leg down, out to the side, towards your face, and across your body. Work your leg going across your midline, more than out to your side. Feel that back left leg stabilize you. Don't really need your arms. On your 3rd circle, cross that leg all the way over and let your foot hang heavy. Bring your arms out to a T, palms facing up, whatever's comfortable, and a little knee sway. Let your knees drop to one side. Exhale, widen across your low belly, coming back through center, and letting your knees drift the other direction. Exhale, feeling that horizontal pull across your low belly and back. Inhale, control the descent. Last knee sway. That right leg is just heavy dead weight, and you're twisting through your waistline. Bring that same right leg back to tabletop. Feel your left and right hip equally weighted. Make sure that right hip didn't hike up towards your armpit. And circle your leg the other way, out away from you, down, around, and across your body. Using your exhale, using your opposite glute. Circling in the hip joint. The knee is not moving, it's just going along for the ride. On this third circle, cross your ankle and let your knee open up so you're more in that figure four stretch. And it's knee sway here. Inhale, control your legs down. Exhale, feeling that left to right and right to left horizontal pull across your low belly and back. Think double sit bone reach here, keeping the distance between the bottom of your ribs and the top of your hips the same. Last one. Go ahead and slide that foot off. Maybe take a moment, notice if your hip or your back feels different. Reset, heavy ribs, you're neutral for pelvis. Push into that right foot. Exhale, sink that left thigh into the socket to bring your leg up to tabletop. Cross your left leg across your body. Take a moment here. See if that leg accidentally turned out and see what it feels like to keep it parallel. And see if that same left hip can stay down to the earth. And then circling your leg 3 times or so. It's not about how big the circle is today. It's about how stable the pelvis is. And if the thigh bone can move without the knee moving, without the ankle moving. Last circle. Cross that leg all the way over. Let your foot be heavy. Bring your arms out to your T. And a little knee sway. Inhale and exhale. So taking that whole left thigh kind of through the range of motion passively. It's like your exhale does the motion. Your exhale does that horizontal pull across your low belly and back. And bringing your leg back to center. Same left leg back to tabletop. Feel your hips equally weighted from left to right. And circle your leg out away from you, down, around, and across your body. Using the exhale on where the effort's at for you. Feeling your back right leg support you. Low back is soft, neck is soft. Cross that ankle over. Let your knee turn out. Arms to a T or a goalpost. And last knee sway here. Really letting that left thigh open up. Thinking length on each side of your waist. Double sit bone reach. Last one here. coming back through center. Slide that left foot off. Find your feet in line with your bum. Untuck the pelvis, neutral. Press into your feet. Big toe mound, pinky toe mound, center of your heel, all equally weighted. Feeling those glutes and hamstrings engage. And hinge your hips up just a few inches into your low bridge. Check the ribs. See if they can sink. That's okay if it tilts your pelvis towards you a bit. And then lift your hips straight up an inch. Release your glutes to lower. Press into the center of your heels to lift straight back up. Little glute pulses, little bridge pulses. The shape of your spine is staying the same. So I'm not tucking under and arching my back. I'm staying neutral. Instead, the hinge is coming from my hip joint. Just a few more, noticing, does the weight need to go more to the inside of my feet? Could my toes relax? Center, heel, sit bone are connected. Pressing into your center heel to turn on your glutes. You're welcome to stay here. Otherwise, we're going to take this off the center of your mat and wake up our outside bum. Let your knees and your hips drift over to the left. Press down into that outside left foot to get that outside left glute to fire, and that pushes you back to center. And then knees and hips sway the other side. Press down into that outside right foot and push yourself back to center. My spine is staying neutral, meaning I'm not C-curving, but my body weight and my hips are all tipping to one side. So if you feel your knee, that's not the point, but that's common. Instead, you're really trying to find that outside bum, and pushing to that outside foot helps that outside glute fire. You're welcome to stay with this. Otherwise, we're going to add on just a bit. Let your knees drift to the left. Get that left outside glute on. Lift your right heel. Maybe stay here. Maybe bring that right leg up to tabletop at the diagonal, right? And 3 toe taps. Exhale, lift. The work is all mostly on my outside bum and then on my obliques. And last one, I think that was 3. Set your foot back down and push yourself back to center. Drift the other direction. Stabilize. Lift that inside heel. Maybe stay here. Maybe those 3 toe taps. Just like before, pelvis stays still. Ribs are heavy. Neck is soft. Use your exhale to lift. And last one. Set that foot down and push yourself back to center. Lift your hips up higher. Take a breath and roll down bone by bone. And release your pelvis back to neutral. Let's go ahead and roll onto your side. Set yourself up for some side leg series. So if you want, you can take your pinky finger in line with your hip bone and saw the earth away. Knees bent, feet stacked. Poke your lower ribs back. Open your sternum and bring your head back in space. Top hand to your hip. And let's do a few equal signs. Lifting your leg up a few inches and lowering back to a hover. So I'm feeling my bottom waistline kind of lift up, so my spine doesn't U, it stays in a straight line. I like my hand here to make sure that top hip doesn't move. Sinking the head of the thigh bone down into the socket to lift. Ribs back, Try not to look at your leg. Foot is heavy. We're going for about 8, maybe 2 more. Pushing your bottom leg into the mat as well. Not doing a lot, so trying to make them count. And last one. Go ahead and gently pound out your bum. Roll or flip over to the other side. So fingertip in line with your hip, sawing the earth away, and stacking your hips. Double sit bone reach, ribs back, sternum open, and coming into your equal sign. Sinking the head of the thigh bone down into the socket to lift. And then I'm kind of contracting my bottom waistline like an hourglass. Just the contraction shape. Foot is heavy. My lower leg could do the work. I want the muscles around my hip to wake up instead. Last 2. And last 1. Let your leg rest. You can always pound it out. Support your head with your bottom hand. Fingertips to your shoulder. Ribs roll forward. Shoulder blade draws down your back, lifting your elbow towards your ear. Rib cage opens. Circle your elbow down, and rib cage rolls forward. So sternum leads the way, ribs move first, your hips can move. Watch your elbow, getting your neck to follow the line of your spine here. And let's reverse. Elbow down towards your hips. Ribs lead the way open. Bring your elbow a little bit more to the ceiling than you think to circle it up. Ribs roll forward. Then your elbow circles down. Maybe inhaling as you roll back. Maybe an exhale to roll you forward. If you get dizzy, breathe how you want. And last one here. Let's flip to your other side. Roll onto your back. Knees are bent. It doesn't matter if your hips are perfectly stacked anymore. Bottom hand supports your head. Fingertips to your shoulders. Ribs roll forward. Elbow circles up. Ribs open up behind you. Watching your elbows, you circle down. And ribs roll forward. Are you watching your elbow the whole time? Trying to let your neck kind of move the same way your spine is. Make sure your ribs are going before your hips, and then the hips can rotate with you. Pause next time you're forward and reverse. Elbow down, chest opens, elbow up, shoulder blade down away from your ears, rolling forward, elbow circles down, clicking, popping, or pain. Get your elbow up a little bit higher. And last one. Use your arms to press yourself up towards seated. And come sitting with your knees bent. Hands behind your thighs. Press your thighs and your hands together and use your biceps to pull yourself up a bit higher. Can you try to get your big toes into the mat? And half roll back. Drag your sit bones under. Try to C-curve the spine to roll back. Check your neck. Push it back into your skull. Relax your shoulders and see if you can deepen into this even more by pushing your hands and your thighs together, opening up your hip flexors. And then widening across your low belly as you keep that internal pressure to stack back up right on top of your sit bones. Take a breath. Exhale, seeing if you can drag your sit bones underneath you to roll back. Once you kind of find your edge, set your neck, imprint more, and press your hands and thighs together. Could those big toes hit the mat? Connect to your low belly as you slowly come back up. Hanging on, not to make it easier, but to get deeper, getting underneath the superficial muscles. So getting underneath the six-pack, getting underneath the hip flexors, getting out of the neck, out of the shoulders, biceps helping create that internal pressure, and stacking back up. Bring your fingertips behind you. Fingers face your bum. You can try turning your arms out to the side if you need. And if you want, you could come onto your forearms instead to do this. All right. Bend your elbows and then really slump your ribs back. Lift your sternum or your breastbone, keeping your ribs slumped. And then pull your elbows and your shoulder blades together and push your nose into your skull. Sinking the lower ribs, opening the chest, spreading through the fingers. Taking a few breaths here. So working the upper body, the upper back muscles, the triceps, but stretching through the sternum, stretching through the collarbones and the chest. Keeping your nose into your skull. Look over one shoulder and center. Keep pushing your nose into your skull as you look over that other shoulder. Keep the tops of your shoulder blades pulling towards one another. And go ahead and press up. Shake that out. One more time with an option to up level. If you can, middle fingers facing straight towards your heels. Ribs sink. Shoulder blades draw back, elbows draw together, sternum lifts, head is set. It's more load for your wrist. If it feels okay, lift your hips up just an inch. Keep sinking the lower ribs, keep bending the elbows, keep pushing your nose into your skull. Feeling those upper back muscles and triceps. Woo. And set your hips back down and go ahead and shake that out. Coming out to all fours, cross your legs, hands and knees. Knees right underneath your hips, hands underneath your shoulders. Jazz hands, middle fingers forward, thumbs trying to point towards one another. Micro bend your elbows, elbows towards your thighs. Back of your neck long, gaze straight down. Let your belly hang. So as you inhale, imagine your belly button could touch the earth. So really creating space for your abdominal organs and letting go of the contraction we kind of always have going on. Keeping the belly soft. Protraction, drawing your shoulder blades together. And separating. So retraction, drawing your shoulder blades together, and then protraction, separating your shoulder blades. Try and keep that micro bend of your elbows, fingertips spreading, soft belly. One or two more of these scapations. Make sure you're still looking at the ground, that your head didn't go forward. And come in between those two extremes. So your shoulder blades are flat on your back. Puppy in the snow. exhale. As you're exhaling, pull one hand off the mat, seeing if everything else can stay the same, and set that hand back down. Find center, reset. Exhale, other hand lifts up, and set that hand back down. So now we really are engaging our deep core. So as you exhale, it's appropriate to feel that widening across your low belly. One more time each side, or an extra one on your wobbly side. An exercise of stability, an exercise of not moving, and of using your exhale to really kind of firm up our fascia scaffolding. Shake out your wrist if you need, otherwise stay here for endurance. Reset. Let's do the same thing with our feet, or with our legs rather. I'm going to exhale, lift my right knee up just an inch, and set that knee back down. And then other side. To lift my knee, I'm sinking my weight onto my outside stance leg. So to lift my right knee, my outside left bum engages. So it's like I'm dropping the weight of my pelvis down onto that stance femur, and then that inside knee can kind of come up. If this is going well, let's add the two exercises together. So I'm going to let my right foot turn out. I'm going to exhale, sink down into that right hip as my left hand comes off the mat. And maybe I rotate into a side bend situation. And then coming back through center. Finding my start position. That inside hand doesn't have to come up. You're trying to be stable as you rotate around your shoulder. And then kind of coming back to all fours and finding center before I do the other side. If this is going well, you can maybe balance on two limbs. It's not about how big the shape is though. It's about how stable you are in your shoulder blade. Feeling your outside bum, feeling your back armpits. Last time each side. And again, you can keep this as small as you want or as big as you would like. Come back to center. Bring your elbows towards one another onto the mat. Fingertips apart. And then hinge back and let your chest drop and let your head go. Breathing into your upper body. So maybe a shoulder stretch, maybe a thoracic spine stretch. Allowing your heart to drop down towards the earth. Then go ahead and take your arms back to parallel. Press all the way back. Press the ground away from you. Let your head go. Breathe into the back of your body. Walk your fingertips to the left and maybe your bum to the right. Take that right hand on top of your left. And then really push your right hand away and send your right hip back. Letting your head go. And maybe breathing into that right stretch. Right side stretching. Coming back to center, walking your hands the other way. Outside left hand on top of your right, pushing the floor away, sending your bum back, breathing into that stretch. Coming back through center, tucking your tailbone, stacking back up. Letting your shoulder blades relax. Maybe seeing if you can sit on top of your feet just for a moment. If not, let it go. Let your eyes close. Feel your ribs sinking back. Feel your sternum open. Feel the back of the head reaching for the wall behind you. Let's take 2 breaths here. And shift your weight to one side and bring your feet out in front of you. And you are free for today.